What is up, YouTube? Welcome back, guys, to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at Series 2 and some of the ideas of what's going to happen, because we've got an announcement from Cerebi, as Cerebi is a very reliable source. I trust them very well. And we have heard basically the rules of Series 2, which brings back the return of the Paradox Pokemon. See if I can pull this up for you guys. Up here on Cerebi. Somewhere on here. One of these lists. Either way, look it up for yourself. But the Paradox Pokemon are going to come back. But we're not having the Ruinous Pokemon show up. They're still banned, so it's not going to be kind of the preseason we played at first. So no Chi-Yu and Fluttermane running around everywhere, or like Qianpao, Dragonite going around. That's not gonna be a thing. Just the Paradox Pokemon. So I want to talk about the Paradox Pokemon. Now that we kind of have an idea of what the meta is looking like in Scarlet Violet, what strategies work so far, and how Terrestrialization is really gonna help you out, and like how to best use Terrestrialization. I want to take a look at all the Paradox Pokemon and see show you guys who I think is going to be, impactful, and who I think is just not going to really do much in the format. Generally speaking, I think the majority of them are at least going to be able to do something. There's only a couple that I really just don't have any ideas for. And so while I'll talk about a couple sets, I just slapped together a couple sets here, just to get a general idea of what they might do, and I'll talk about some things. And I'll also rank them on this little tier list, talking about just how impactful they're going to be. So if they're meta defining, if they're just viable Pokemon, if they're decent niches, or if I think they're just bad. If they are just doo-doo. So let's just talk about it. The first one I want to talk about, I don't think this is going to be a good Pokemon at all. I got no ideas for Iron Thorns. It's a worse Tyranitar in every single way. You trade the Quad Weakness to Fighting for Quad Weakness to Ground, and that is just so much worse. Fighting so much easier to manage. Even like without Terra, like the ground Terra, you're gonna Terra flying like most T-Tar are tearing right now, which I don't like. I don't like those, but this is just it's a worse T-Tar. It's slightly faster. It's like a little bit less bulky. Let me just actually here. Let's just pull up T-Tar and Double Zoobers, sure. So let's pull up T-Tar and let's pull up Iron Thorns and kind of show you them back to back. And we'll put them both at level 50 just so you can see them like in VGC format. So remember, you have to, because of Sandstream, you have to kind of take into consideration that Tyranitar has an Assault Vest on at all times because of the sand boost to his special defense. So Iron Thorns doesn't have that. So as we look at the stats, HP is the same, defense is the same. But Tyranitar has 100 special defense and an Assault Vest on top of that, basically. Meanwhile, Iron Thorns is 84 and doesn't get this. He still gets the sand boost, but you don't set the sand yourself, and so you'd have to run like a Hippowdon or it next to a T-Tar, and why would you run these two on the same team? Kind of thing. And then you have less special attack, which is not a huge deal. It's only rare that Tyranitar will use its special attack. With the same attack stat at 134, and Iron Thorns is a little bit faster, which is like the only thing I could possibly see. Like, funny enough, the set on my Tyranitar set that I'm running right now, I have it at 91 speed, which Iron Thorns hits at base, so that's kind of cool. But the bulk trade-off is just not worth it. Tyranitar is not fast in that 11 points in speed isn't going to help you be faster, really. Tyranitar is a bulky Pokemon that sets weather for itself and can take a lot of hits and can deal a lot of damage back, and is really good into things like Trick Room and stuff. That's what T-Tar is. It's not supposed to be fast. And so the speed trade-off for the less bulk, it just doesn't help. And the typing is not any better. If anything, Dark is just way better than Electric right now because of the Prankster that's running around, and in Trick Room, like Armor Rouge just can't really touch a T-Tar. They have to Terra and go Terra Grass, and then you can counter Terra them. It's hilarious. And like Iron Thorns just doesn't have any of that. So there's really not much I can think of that this Pokemon can really do. Like, the only thing I can really assume is like you're not bulky enough to really set on like a Dragon Dance and kind of sweep that way. You can try. Honestly, I think the best bet is to like be a Choice Scarf Rock Slide Pokemon. And this little set, I just gave him a little bit of bulk, max attack, and enough speed to outspeed Garchomp. You have Terra Flying, and you have like Terra Blast, and then it does have Volt Switch, so it has like cool pivoting. So it's like if you want to run a Scarf Tyranitar, I guess, then I would say you can run Iron Thorns because you do have like the cool Volt Switch pivot, and you know like Rock Slide, faster Rock Slide than a Tyranitar would do. But like you're not gonna Scarf your Tyranitar. There's no reason to use this thing, so I think it's just straight up bad. The other one is, I think Screamtail is not bad, but I just can't for the life of me think of sets. You know, I can't think of sets that are really going to be good. This Pokemon is, Fairy Psychic is like decent. It's decent typing, but you're going to really have a hard time until a lot of very good things like Flutter Mane, and there's just a bunch of Dark types and Ghosts. There's a bunch of Darks, Ghosts, and Steels everywhere. I guess you're not really weak to Dark, but you don't want to take like a knockoff. And you do not threaten any of them back at all. These attacking stats, you're not doing anything. I feel like the real issue with Screamtail is, as good of a support Pokemon as this thing like might be able to be, there's just no attacking move, and you have to run an attacking move. Every support Pokemon has to have an attacking move in case you get taunted. And like you can't run Mental Herb and think you're gonna get away with it. No, you have to have an attacking move on. And like the best thing I can possibly think for Screamtail is like Rock Tomb. I guess, like, maybe Psychic Fangs, but to just break screens, but Grimmsnarl's immune to that move, and that's the screens Pokemon right now, so, I mean, I know you can attack, like, the other Pokemon, but it just doesn't seem like it's that good, so, or maybe you run, like, an attacking move, just random coverage, like, maybe Flamethrower to hit Scizor, I don't know. Scizor's gonna kill you. You're gonna force a Terra on this thing, like. So I can't really think of anything. Literally, Rock Tomb's the only idea I had just for speed control. In this Pokemon, you could run it as like a Trick Room Imprisoned Pokemon, which is just honestly niche. Fast Encore is cool. I think the best thing you could probably do is like be pretty fast with like Fake Tears in the sun, or you could run like Booster Energy and try to outspeed the Flutter Manes that aren't running Booster Energy, or pair yourself with like your own Flutter Mane or something. And Fake Tears things and just deal a lot of damage. Like, that's the only idea I've got here. But if you're going to run fast Fake Tears, you can just do that with Grimmsnarl and Prankster and stuff. So, I got nothing. I got nothing for Screamtail. I'm sure that some sets will arise, but I just don't see this thing. I can't see it, especially compared to the rest of these Pokemon. I just gotta say it's bad. It's not, like, it might possibly be niche, but I'm gonna pull it down to bad when I compare it to the rest of the Pokemon. I don't see it. The next two I'll talk about is the two Donphan forms, Great Tusk and Iron Shreds. These two have some room to be good because they have only one competition for like a really good ground type right now, which is Garchomp, which is a really good ground type considering, but you know, it could. I could see these two being on a team for like certain reasons. And we look at ground types, like something to kind of ground type to click Earthquake. It's Garchomp. There's nothing else here that's gonna do it. Like Crocodile is just not very good. Sadly, Intimidate's really not worth it. I can see Crocodile maybe being okay, but these things are stronger than Crocodile. Except for Iron Shreds is I guess like about the same. Mudsdale is more like Trick Room, and it's not that amazing. It's like kind of okay. You don't like have other fastish ground types. That's the thing. You don't really have any other fastish ground types. Like Crocodile is just not there. So if you didn't want to use Garchomp for whatever reason, you can use Great Tusk. Great Tusk is a little bit, has 1 point higher in strength than Garchomp. So you know your Garchomps are usually something like Clear Amulet, Earthquake, Rock Slide or Dragon Claw, Swords Dance, and Protect. And 252, 252. This is your standard Garchomp set, you know, really good speed tier. You go Terra Ground, click Earthquake, and try to deal a ton of damage. Great Tusk can do this, and it also, like, this could be like a ground type to, like, also take on a Garchomp just because of the massive defense stat. You have to worry about your special defense, and the speed isn't awful. It's not great. It's kind of like an awkward tier of, like, some of the 80s where you're like in the same speed tiers as like things like Goldango. So you're gonna outspeed something like a Goldango. It's not like a Choice Scarf if you go like max speed. And this is like I can see Great Tusk being like your Sun Earthquake. Like you're making a Sun team, and you want something to spam Earthquake. I could see Great Tusk being that with something like an Assault Vest and Protosynthesis. And so with the Assault Vest, you can take some water hits in the Sun, and you just kind of like run Earthquake next to like I don't know like an Air Balloon Torkoal or something, or you just run like Headlong Rush. You have Close Combat. And you do have like Ice Spinner, you have Knockoff. There's some cool things here. All these two Donphan forms, and just Donphan himself, have really cool movesets. Amazing moves like Great Tusk loves Body Press because of how bulky it is. You can easily run like a bulk up Body Press and just like figure out a way to not deal with special attackers, you know? You got Brick Break, obviously Earthquake, and you do have a Facade in case you like wanted to run that. It's kind of funny. You've got Headlong Rush, which is super awesome, and Head Smash. So, like, Headlong Rush, Head Smash, and Close Combat could honestly just be a Choice Scarf set if you wanted to run a Scarf. Just crazy, like, one shot. I'm going to blow you up with these crazy strong moves, you know. And I don't plan to live. This could be, like, a pretty decent set here, too. With, you're not quite outspeeding Dragapult. With Scarf, you have to go Timid and like there. Now you're outspeeding Dragapult and stuff. Or you could just ignore Dragapult, whatever is going to beat you. Outspeed most other things, and then just deal a crap ton of damage with Choice Scarf. So this could be like a decent Pokemon. I see it being in Sun teams, but it's also just like, you know, ground types are great in Sun. They really benefit from Sun not having to deal with water types as much, and kind of going running rampant. But it's kind of awkward because like the Sun Setter, you don't have like a Charizard Y to sit next to you and Earthquake with, so he's gonna take a little bit more kind of working around. So you kind of have to run Headlong Rush, which doesn't really work too well for a bulky Pokemon. So it's a little bit awkward, but I think it's like niche. I want to put it like niche, because really, if you want an Earthquaker, you're gonna run Garchomp like 90% of the time, but. At least with the Great Tusk, like they're both weak to Fairy, so there's nothing there. It's like, do you want one to take on another Dragon? I guess you could take Great Tusk because it has like Ice Spinner, but I mean Garchomp is gonna fight most other dragons too. So it's like, do you really want the fighting? Like, do you want Garchomp, but you would also like fighting coverage? That's kind of why you run Great Tusk. Iron Shreds, I think, is a little bit more interesting than Great Tusk, but not as strong. So I could see, you know, these two kind of switching spots of who's better, who's worse for VGC. The Ground Steel typing is super awesome. Love that. It's really good. You know, Excadrill used that to so much success. And this thing is faster than Garchomp, which is a great benefit too. I mean, all you're really outspeeding is like Pawmot, which isn't that big of a deal in terms of things. It's really just the idea that you're outspeeding Garchomp. But this thing is definitely weaker than these other two, and that kind of hurts. But I mean, this is still like strong Earthquakes, and you could go like a Life Orb or something, or Clear Amulet. Does Pokemon get like Swords Dance or anything? No, which kind of sucks. You know, Garchomp can like Swords Dance on you, like these guys really can't. So that kind of hurts. But you could like Choice Band this thing maybe. Just, you're a little bit faster. The Steel typing is super cool. I think the reason you would run Iron Shreds is because you want a Earthquaker that's not weak to Fairy. That, you know, these two are weak to Fairy, and without having to Terra, you could run Iron Shreds, I think, like in a Soul Vest set or something, and now you're an Earthquaker that's going to beat any form of Sylveon except for, like, Terra Water. And if that's the case, then you can go Terra Water yourself. That's a great Terra for this Pokemon. And so running something like, you know, Rock Slide, Earthquake, Iron Head, and like Knockoff or Ice Spinner could be a really good set for, you know, this is just like a nice, great, like good damage output, good, you could Terra Ground and just like deal a lot of damage with Earthquake. You've got the Iron Heads, you've got like really fast Rock Slides, or faster than Garchomp at least. Or you could even run Boost Energy here with this Pokemon. I think this one gets a lot more use out of Boost Energy than Great Tusk, just because getting the 1.5 speed is just better than any 1.3. It's just higher number. That's always gonna be better. So running this thing like booster energy, 173, with basically a free choice scarf, 259, you're gonna outspeed a ton of things. You could easily run. I can't run adamant, but you could drop your speed just a little bit and go more for bulk. Like you could start here and still get the speed boost because you have higher speed. 247, really good speed tier. You're gonna outspeed most things that aren't faster than you're gonna outspeed everything that's not also booster energy or choice scarf or something. And then you can put a little bit more into bulk, like say something like that. There you go. Like here's a decent bulky Pokemon that's gonna move first and have good rock slide flinches and earthquakes and stuff. Like I see this Pokemon being a little bit better than Great Tusk and like actually having a reason to be used over Garchomp, but you're realistically using Garchomp more than these guys, so I gotta put them niche, but they could be good. On to the Volcaronas. Let's talk about Slitherwing first, because I think it's a little bit worse. Slitherwing is like it's a sun attacker. Slitherwing is a sun attacker. You get the choice band boost essentially from, or not the choice band boost, but the life orb boost while in the sun because of photosynthesis. Pair that with a life orb, you get a 1.6 and like a little bit higher than choice band, and you can switch your moves. And you've got the strongest first impression, a really strong close combat, and Terrifier very easily and deal a ton of damage with Flare Blitz and do a lot of damage this way. Go max attack, 205 is an amazing attack stat. And you've got some good bulk. You can definitely take a couple hits while also, dishing out like some recoil to yourself with Flare Blitz. The close combat kind of sucks, but we know whatever. You're gonna kill something and hopefully trade, at the very least. And the speed is not awful. You only have to do a little bit to be faster than Dragapults in Tailwind. So you could put this on a team with you could do like a Sun, Trick Room, and Tailwind team and try to go, kind of operate in both modes. Like have some Trick Room setter for Torkoal, and so that we can operate in Trick Room well, and then also have maybe like a Murkrow with Tailwind or something. And this thing is just super fast and dealing a ton of damage, so it's not bad. This is another niche Pokemon, and this is like the only set I ever see working for this. I don't see bulk up sets working out. I don't see a Soulfest set's working out. I think like the best you're gonna be able to do is just like immediate, really strong damage with like first impression, and then Flare Blitz and stuff. I've already done a couple games on like doubles OU and stuff, 6v6. Trying out a team with Slitherwing, and it does just take names. It does a crap ton of damage. But it is also just limited with speed. It's, I think it's niche. I think it's like, hey, I want to run this Sun Attacker, but there's just, Torkoal is its own Sun Attacker. Maybe you want to run a Chlorophyll Pokemon. And then you're really building your team to be super Sun Reliance, and it can get a little awkward. That's kind of why I think Slitherwing is here. The niche tier, don't think of this as like bad Pokemon. Like I think these Pokemon can do good stuff, and this is also not in any order so far. Like this, I think Iron Treads is better than Great Tusk, but maybe Great Tusk is gonna be better. Like don't take that too seriously. And Iron Moth is, in some ways, it's a worse Volcarona, because Volcarona right now is kind of being used as like pseudo support, or it can Quiver Dance and set up and try to go crazy. But Iron Moth, I think, is just immediate damage output is really strong. 140 special attack. And with Quark Drive, if you ever get Electric Terrain up, you can just deal so much damage. You could booster energy this thing, or put it in Electric Terrain and like Life Orb and just deal so much damage. And you've got a good speed tier too. You can easily run Timid, and right here you're getting a special attack boost pretty much no matter what. You have to go very heavily down in a special attack, which isn't worth it. So this is just like a really good, you can go Terrifier, Heat Waves, and deal a ton of damage, or Terra Grass and just have a ton of different coverage. You have a huge selection of really interesting moves. I was thinking maybe like a Choice Scarf set of just being really fast, 162 speed. You're gonna outspeed so much. You can even go into bulk with this. Like you could very easily go something like this. And now you're outspeeding Dragapult, everything that's not booster energy, pretty much. And then you've got all of this you can put into bulk. There you go. Like here's a Pokemon that's gonna take a couple hits and just deal a ton of damage with Heat Waves and Dazzling Gleam and Terra Grass energy balls to catch the ground types off, or maybe you can fiery dance things or overheats. This thing is just going to be able to do a ton of damage. That's its whole thing. It's going to do a lot of damage. And I can't discredit 140, you know, while getting boosted. I mean, the sad fact is, this thing would love having photosynthesis instead, because it would love to be sitting next to Torkoal in the sun and be like a Choice Scarf, getting a life, being like a Choice Scarf Pokemon, or getting a Life Orb boost in the sun, and then also the sun boost to your fire type attacks. Like, that would be super crazy. So, and sun is just better than electric terrain because Pincurchin is just really not that good. So that's kind of a slight downside to it, but I think it's just a really good immediate damage output Pokemon. And so I'm putting like in niche tier 2. If I had to put an order here, I think Iron Shreds probably has the highest chance of being good. And then like Volcarona, or not Volcarona, sorry, Iron Moth, it seems pretty good too. And then these two fighting types are like pretty okay. I think the speed tier is just really what pushes these guys above. Another niche one, and this is not in any order at all, is Sandy Shocks. Actually, do I have a set for Sandy Shocks? Did I forget that one? I think I just forgot him entirely on this list. That's hilarious. It's always the Paradox form I forget. It's so weird. Sandy Shocks is another like niche Pokemon to me. This one is, you're fast. You've got a good speed tier. 101, you are, I think you're actually still slower than Garchomp, which really sucks. Yeah, you're 1 point slower than Garchomp, so you're gonna lose to it, but I mean, you're electric type, so you're gonna lose to it anyways. So you're outspeeding a lot of the base 100s, or all of the base 100s, which is a decent speed tier right now. You know, 168 and any decent special attack, good bulk overall. This just seems like maybe you're gonna like booster energy. I don't even think you boost energy. You'd have to do like this to be like really fast booster energy with like earth power or something. This feels like a better sun ground type to me though. Like what I was talking about with Great Tusk, I could see this Pokemon being really nice on sun teams, running something like Life Orb, and then you just have, you know, Thunderbolt, Earth Power, Double Stab with Volt Switch, and maybe a Terra. I'm not sure what you would Terra. Maybe like Terra Flying is perfect for this. You get rid of your grass weakness from ground. You get rid of your ground weakness from electric. And you could maybe run Terra Blast, or you could do like, you would probably just Protect. If this thing had, what is it called, Electro Whip, that would be so great for it. You can like Discharge if you wanted to, like, I don't know, Discharge next like a Volt Absorb Pokemon or something. I think more realistically, you do have screens too, which is kind of cool. But I think just more realistically, you're looking at something like a choice. This could be like Specs, like a Choice Specs Sun Attacker, if you don't have Specs on your Torkoal or something, or maybe Choice Scarf. You know, this speed tier was Choice Scarf. You're gonna outspeed a ton of things. You could easily do something like this. Choice Scarf, Photosynthesis, you know, 190, getting the Life Orb boost. So you're 190 Life Orb boost and doing a ton of damage in the sun, and you're pretty bulky at that too. And you're outspeeding Dragapult. Like, this seems like a pretty good Pokemon here, as like a sun Pokemon. So kind of like what is it, Slitherwing? I think Sandy Shocks is just going to be like another sun niche Pokemon. I think outside of sun, it's an okay electric type, I guess. It's like, I don't know, probably not. I guess it's like a different, it feels like a semi-Rotom in a way, maybe? Like electric type with a cool dual type that can, you know, deal some good damage and have cool, yeah. Feels like a decent Rotom, so I think it's niche. I think it's pretty okay. But I still think Iron Shreds is at the top of this list. I think the rest of these are in any order, and can be used. You know, these three to me feel like sun attackers, and then Iron Moth just feels like fast, immediate damage. Hey, I need a offensive fire type. Now this is a pretty I think it's going to be a hot take. Honestly, I think a lot of people are not going to agree with me when I say this, but I think Iron Jugulis has great potential to be very, very fun, very useful Pokemon. Dark Flying is pretty good supported Pokemon. I mean, you can sit next to Earthquaking teammates. You are immune to Pranksters, so it's really good to set up with things. And with Booster Energy, this Pokemon is super fast. 108, you're faster than Garchomps, you're faster than a lot of things. It's 176. You're faster than everything except for like Mouse Hold and up. And with Booster Energy, you're gonna outspeed everything. You're gonna outspeed everything that's not Booster Energy. Booster Energy wars are gonna be a thing. We'll see. We'll have to see how common Booster Energy like Flutter Mane and stuff is, because they're already so fast. It depends on if you're Booster Energy to try to beat other Flutter Mane and stuff. But I think this thing with Booster Energy is like a Tailwind setter. It's not Prankster Tailwind, but it's a bulky. This could be like a bulky Tailwind setter that cannot be taunted, and it can also taunt other things, like you can taunt a Murkrow. And then you also have like knockoff support. You've got Snarl support. Or you could run this thing offensive with like Earth Power, Dark Pulse, Air Slash, maybe Hurricane and Rain. You've also got Hydro Pump and Rain. This thing would love to go like Terra Steel. I think just as a support Pokemon, this thing has a lot of potential. I feel like everyone looked at this Pokemon as an offensive Pokemon, which makes sense. 108 speed, 122 special attack. I think it's rightful and understandable that people are looking at this thing as like a prankster, or not as a prankster, as like an offensive dark type, and then they compare it to Hydreigon, they're like, oh, Hydreigon's just better, yada yada yada. But I think people kind of overlooked the support that this Pokemon can offer, and I really want to try this Pokemon on some teams. I think it could be good. Really fast Tailwinds, fast Snarls, fast knockoffs, fast taunts. You could even run like Iron Head and go Terra Steel Iron Head and knock out Sylveons. But they're probably going to Terra Fire on you and open team sheets and stuff. So, anyways, I think this Pokemon has some great support. As like, kind of like you think maybe I want to run Murkrow on my team, but I'm really weak to Psychic Terrain, or I don't want to run Murkrow because I have to run Eviolite and it's just like kind of passive. Yeah, if you want to, like, Murkrow really suffers from being passive. It gets Tailwind up, it hazes, and then what? Iron Jugulis as a Pokemon can deal damage with Dark Pulse, like stab Dark Pulse and stuff, or you can just be knocking off things, and is really not that frail. Like, this thing has got some decent bulk. It can definitely take a couple hits, and this is just a random set I threw together because a bunch of 7s because it's funny to look at. But this Pokemon can take a couple hits and can be a decent support Pokemon, and it can be a pretty okay offensive Pokemon. And in terms of like, oh, you should just use Hydreigon, let's go, well, this thing is faster and has Hurricane if you want to be in the rain. And it's a different Pokemon. I don't think this is Hydreigon at all. I think this is a drastically different Pokemon. And I think it's gonna be viable. This is maybe like, I almost want to put a separate tier of these two. Of like bouncing. I'll call it a borderline. I think these two are borderline between viable and niche. I really think they have some potential here, but they are not some of the big players like we'll get to in a second. I think the first big player is Brute Bonnet. Everyone kind of at first was like, oh, this is worse than Amoonguss. But the thing that this thing has over Amoonguss, first off, the dark typing means you cannot be pranked or taunted. So you can have an Amoonguss out with a Murkrow on the field and just not worry at all. You do lose the Fairy Resistance and the Fighting Resistance for weaknesses, which does suck, and you're quad weak to U-turn, which sucks. This as defensive typing is not great. So you're gonna want to Terra at something for your defenses, something like Steel, or I was thinking like Poison. Going Terra Poison is great for this. But this Pokemon can hit really good speed tiers. With just a little bit of speed investment, 76, you can get to 85, which under Tailwind outspeeds Garchomp. And you can have fast spores basically, and not be like, not like frail Breloom, who can also have fast spores. with Brute Bonnet, you can have like actually fast spores. And you could also, I still got like a pretty bulky set here. You're bulkier than Amoonguss. You have slightly lower HP, but just higher defenses. So you're bulkier than Amoonguss. You can still run like Rocky Helmet, or you can run like a Citrus Berry. This is still a really good redirector. And you have high attack. Even with no investment, these like sucker punches are going to deal a ton of damage. This random set I put together here is just kind of funny of like, oh, I want to get fast spores off while I'm still helping my team out, and I've got sucker punch to pick some things off. Like a Fluttermane is not going to want to take this sucker punch. Let's do a little thing here. Let's go. Brute Bonnet, aka Umbabungus, with 4 attack and sucker punch. Not teared. Oh, that's, and you put level 50, 60 to 70%. That's a really good chip. What if you're in the sun and you have the booster energy? Or not the booster energy, but the photosynthesis. Let's see if I can go photosynthesis and sun. So that gives me the boost. 74 to 92. Now what if you ran adamant? Like it's very easy to make this thing just one shot a Fluttermane with, you know, you could take it with a bulk. Like or you take it with the speed. 196. Take away all this speed, take away some of this bulk, and go for like, hey, I'm gonna be in the sun as like a redirector that can also deal some good damage. Like this is not, I mean, this is still a pretty bulky Pokemon here. Do like something like that, I don't know, random. HP wise, you're gonna live a Final Gambit from Annihilate because 218 is the magic number, so you still have the perfect HP. And like this set right here, I mean, get rid of Trailblaze for like, I don't know, Protect, or I guess Seed Bomb, maybe because you're going so much attack. Seed Bomb. If only this thing had Power Whip. If only this thing had Power Whip, that'd be hilarious. Or you could Trailblaze and try to get faster spores off and stuff. You could run Bullet Seed, I guess, too. Seed Bomb's probably just more reliable damage. Also, this thing has Close Combat, which is hilarious. And you still have Clear Smog stuff, Pollen Puff, so you still do everything that Amoonguss can do. You have like Body Press, which is hilarious, too. Outrage, which is just dumb but funny. Stomping Tantrum, which is hilarious. You have Taunt, so you can stop other Amoonguss, which is super cool. Trailblaze, as I was saying, for speed. Like, you can take this thing offensive. It's super flexible. This thing is very, very flexible. Scary Face is kind of cool. Honestly, Body Slam has potential. Crunch. I just think this thing has, you know, you could be flexible as like, haha, I'm a support Pokemon that's also going to one-shot your Fluttermane. Screw you. Or you can be, you know, the fast, cheesy Spores. Like you can invest into speed and put on this much speed. Now you're outspeeding Dragapult and Tailwind. And so you Tailwind Spore. And even, I would say, because of Sucker Punch, you're going to blow up a Dragapult. So you just try to outspeed things like a Fluttermane. What's a Fluttermane speed? 205. Group on it, you want 104. 103. Boom, you go right there, put the rest in the bulk. Random set, you know. Still a pretty bulky Pokemon, especially with like a Citrus Berry on. You're now outspeeding Fluttermane and and Tailwind, and putting him to sleep, and you can even like Trailblaze. It'd be faster. This is hilarious. This Pokemon is absolutely hilarious. I think there's gonna be so many interesting things it can do. I think it's definitely gonna be viable. Definitely gonna be viable. It's not gonna be as defensive as like Amoonguss, and we're still gonna see Amoonguss everywhere. Amoonguss isn't gonna go anywhere. Brute Bonnet is just gonna be a slightly different playstyle to Amoonguss. The less, you know, not the Trick Room, not the fully defensive, the more mixed style of Amoonguss. So I think it's gonna be really good. Iron Hands is also gonna be really viable. This is a Trick Room Pokemon, and it's kind of like Brute Bonnet, like with how Brute Bonnet and Amoonguss, like Brute Bonnet is a more offensive Amoonguss. Iron Hands, I think, is a more offensive Hariyama. Because Hariyama has Wide Guard and has Knockoff. You don't have those as Iron Hands, but we do have, he's a massive attack stat. You don't have to worry about Guts boosting your attack or anything. crazy bulk. And you're not quite as slow as Hariyama. Let's take a look at them together. Let's get Iron Hands. Level 50. And Hariyama. Level 50. The Hariyama sets you're seeing, you're running like Flame Orb. EVs are all over the place. I'm not going to try to say anything about that. And you've got things like Fake Out, you've got Close Combat, maybe Facade or Headlong Rush, Attacking Move, possibly Knockoff, possibly Bullet Punch, and like Wide Guard. Iron Hands also doesn't have Bullet Punch, so I guess that's another thing you don't have, but there's just there's some other cool things it's got. So the 120 attack versus 140. If we look at max attack on both of these guys. Now you do get like the choice band boost from Guts, but Iron Hands can also get a choice band boost, or not a choice band, but like a life orb boost, and has some great setup. So let's go here. You got 211 versus 189. That is a huge attack jump. HP wise, 154, 144. They both have amazing HP. But the defenses, Iron Hands is just so much bulkier, and they're the same speed too, which is kind of funny. Iron Hands is just a, like, stat wise, it's a pure upgrade to Hariyama. The thing about Hariyama, Wide Guard, Knockoff, and Bullet Punch are the three things it has over Iron Hands. But if you don't want to run these tools for any reason, and you also want to have just a Hariyama that's going to last longer, like Flame Orb, run like an Iron Hands, run like an Assault Vest Iron Hands. This thing with Ice Punch, Drain Punch, Wild Charge, you're going to hit, or Thunder Punch, you're going to hit everything super hard. Obviously, you don't want to get burned, but you can play around that. And this is a great Trick Room Pokemon. It's just super bulky, you're going to deal a ton of damage. You could also drop the vest and go for, not protective pads, go for something like, let's say, Booster Energy. You want to run the Booster Energy, get a Life Orb without taking any damage, and you go ahead and run Sword Dance. You still have Fake Out, so you've got like Drain Punch, Swords Dance, Thunder Punch. You don't even have to Belly Drum. Like, you can Belly Drum if you want. You can run like a Citrus Berry Belly Drum. Or you can just Swords Dance and not have to worry about taking damage, and then Drain Punch up and go crazy. This thing is very flexible in the sets it can run, and it's going to be great. It's going to be a very good Trick Room Pokemon. Just like how Hariyama is right now. It's just going to be like a slightly different Hariyama in Trick Room, and is easily viable. Honestly, it's less splashable than Brute Bonnet, but it's super good. And strong fighting type is, not super common right now in the format, and a strong electric type is pretty rare right now. It's kind of just Rotom, so that could be pretty nice too. All right, now we're on to, I guess that's the only two I have in viable. I might just throw these two up here. How about that? I'm just gonna throw these two up here because I think they can be viable. These two, no, I'll leave that borderline. I'm going to leave that little borderline thing. And again, these niche Pokemon, I could be wrong about. I could be wrong. Someone could have the set, only time will tell. And like Screamtail's another one that could maybe, like, the set could be found. The only one I'm confident about as being bad is like Iron Thorns. I'm confident it's going to be bad. Now onto the meta defining. These four, and I'm sure this is no surprise to you guys. Let's go in my personal order of things. I think the worst of the four is Iron Valiant. And I think it's just the worst because it's frail. And these other ones have bulk in some regard. But a strong fairy type is very, very sorely missing in this current format. Like, that's the whole reason Sylveon's being used so much, is just because fairy is hitting so many important things. There's so many dragons, Annihilate, stuff like that. That fairy just wants to prey on, and Iron Valiant's going to go crazy with that. And also fast fighting types. We're missing those. Scarf Annihilate is the only fast fighting type, but that's only using Final Gambit. So we're drastically missing this. So both of these types together, plus Fairy fighting together, it's just such crazy coverage. We're missing some stuff here. And there's a couple ways you can run Iron Valiant. One set I liked at first was a mixed set of going super fast with Booster Energy. You have Wide Guard, kind of a set protect your allies, and Wide Guard in the face of like a Fluttermane trying to Dazzling Gleam you or something. And going minus special defense doesn't really matter. You're so frail anyways, you're going to die. And I have, you know, Shadow Sneak to pick off a chipped Flutter Mane and even deal some great chips there. And Moonblast or Dazzling Gleam and Aura Sphere are great damage outputs. This thing can also go physical, running something like Clear Amulet to not have to worry about Intimidates or anything. And going Tear Fire to not worry about getting burned. And having amazing coverage with Spear Break, Close Combat, and Fire Punch. The only thing that walls you out is like Spear Break and Close Combat is like Goldango, which you're going to absolutely destroy with Fire Punch. And, you know, 130 attacks that is really, really strong. 120 special attack that is also really strong. And you get the speed boost even from going max attack. The only time you're going to get the attack speed boost is if you wanted to, like, drop your speed up ever so slightly, which you could. The 116 speed tier is great. You're going to outspeed things like Mousehold. Let's take a look at the speed tier, actually. At 116, here's the things you're outspeeding. Ignore all these unreleased Pokemon. You're not outspeeding Dragapult, but you're going to beat it. You're not outspeeding Iron Bundle, but you're going to beat it. Flutter Mane beats you, but you can Terra for it and stuff like that. These two birds are going to beat you, but they're not super hard to deal with. Meowscarada, you're going to beat Meowscarada, so it's okay that it outspeeds you. Booster Energy, you're going to outspeed anyways. You do get outsped by Roaring Moon, which is going to have some interesting kind of wars going on, because you do beat Roaring Moon, but Roaring Moon will Terra something like Flying or Steel to beat you. So there could be some fun war there. And then like Salazzle, who's gotten slightly usage right now, outspeeds you and does beat you. But you're outspeeding Floatzel outside of the rain. You're outspeeding Lycanroc outside of the sand. Mousehold is a big deal. You're outspeeding Screamtail, which is cool. Iron Moth, Gengar is really cool to outspeed because that is something that threatens you a little bit. But you would have to run some coverage for Gengar, but that's totally fine. You outspeed Raichu. You outspeed Iron Jugglers, Iron Treads, Pawmot. You outspeed Garchomp, which is a really, really awesome thing to outspeed. Palafin, Volcarona, Salamence, the Tauros forms, and so on and so forth. Hydreigon's another great thing. So you outspeed a lot of things, and the things that outspeed you, you're only really scared of like Flutter Mane, and then like the war between Roaring Moon, and I guess like Talonflame, but yeah, there's only a couple things that outspeed you. So speed tier wise, you're great, and offensive stats, you're hitting so hard no matter which side you go, whether physical or special. You do have like Swords Dance to set up. You do have like Calm Mind if you want to maybe try to be especially bulky and sweep that way. I think this thing just gets more benefit from immediate damage with just really strong attacks. It has really stupid coverage too. It has Moonblast, has Liquidation for no reason. It has Knockoff for no reason. You've got, great stab moves, Close Combat, Aura Sphere, Dazzling Gleam, Brick Break, Drain Punch, in case you want to do a Drain Punch set. You don't have Bulk Up, but I don't think it's a big deal. Again, I don't think any setup is going to be really worth it, except for, Swords Dance, which you do have. You do have Fast Taunt, you do have, Fast Thunder Wave and Trick. You can set Electric Drain, Feint, Helping Hand in case you want to go supportive, Fast Icy Winds if you want to be supportive. Night Slash for great dark coverage. You have Trick Room too, which is kind of funny. X-Scissor, you have Quick Guard, Psychic Terrain. There's a lot. This is a very flexible Pokemon. It has you're probably running 3 attacking moves and then some support move. I think is kind of what this Pokemon does, or Protect. But great damage output and really good speed. Amazing, amazing typing. This thing's gonna be really strong. The third best, in my opinion, is Iron Bundle. Iron Bundle is the fastest thing. You're 1 point faster than Flutter Mane. And you have speed control with Icy Wind, which nothing is immune to. So kind of like Regieleki. This is like the current Regieleki. Regieleki was fast and everything, and it would offer speed control with Electro Web, but you could ignore that speed control with ground types. There's nothing that is immune to ice, so you're gonna have to take the speed control unless you're Clear Amulet or Clear Body. And most things that want to be Clear Amulet don't want to take a Freeze Dry. No Garchomp wants to take a Freeze Dry. No Gyarados, no Clear Body Dragapult wants to take a Freeze Dry. So you're going to force Terrors very easily and change things, and you've got strong Hydro Pumps. And I have this fun little set. I think there's 2 sets to run with Iron Bundle. The first set is going to run Booster Energy and outspeed everything. You're going to outspeed Booster Energy Flutter Mains. You're going to outspeed every single thing in the game outside of Tailwind. Even like inside of Tailwind, you're probably going to outspeed a ton of things too. Because 206 plus his Choice Scarf plus 1.5. 309. You're outspeeding so many things. It's so hard to outspeed this thing, even with Tailwind up. Or you could run an Assault Vest set, and I did the calcs. This Assault Vest set, with just 12 in special defense, lives a Flutter Mane, a timid Flutter Mane Terra Fairy Moonblast, which is like the one thing this thing threatens you. So now you're no longer faster than the. This is a cool little step because you're not faster than the Booster Energy Flutter Mains, but you can take any hit from them and you still Icy Wind. And any non-Booster Energy Flutter Mains, you're going to outspeed them, you Icy Wind them, and then your partner is going to take care of the Flutter Mane. So I think this set's pretty cool, otherwise Booster Energy. And this Pokemon is just, yeah, you have really good support, really good speed control, while also being really scary offensively with like Freeze Dry and Hydro Pump hitting a ton of things. You're probably just going to run like Terra Ice or Terra Water. But if you did want to Terra something kind of defensive and run a different move, like maybe you could run... I had an idea if you could run like Terra Ground, Terra Blast. Your Terra Ground, so you resist Rock. You get rid of your Rock weakness, you're neutral fighting, and you're immune to Electric, which is pretty cool. And I think that's all your weaknesses is what, like Rock, Electric, Fighting is all that Water, Ice is weak to. And I guess you're still weak to Grass, but like you're going to smack every Grass type with Freeze Drive, so... You could easily do that, or you just run like Terra Ice. And you do have U-Turn. You have Flip Turn too, but I think U-Turn is just better. I mean, Flip Turn does have a little bit more damage because of Stab, but you don't have to worry about like Storm Drain Pokemon. You do have like fast Ice Spinners too, which could be like nice support. If you drop the Assault Vest, you can run really fast Taunts. And also, this Pokemon is really cool in Hail, and I wanted to look at this Pokemon and kind of look at the set in Hail. Because of, Terra Ice, really strong special attack, and just super fast, you can basically allow the Abomasnow next to you to not run Roar Veil and not run Sash, and this thing could run something like Assault Vest and be a really bulky Weather Setter that can kind of take on some of the other Weather Setters and like run like Terra Water. And so you've got Blizzard, let's say Energy Ball or Giga Drain, Earth Power, and Terra Blast. And now you're going to take on, or even Chilling Water, you've got Ice Shard, there's plenty of different moves. Chilling Water's kind of cool, actually. And this is a very bulky, this is a very bulky Weather Pokemon that can deal good damage and also support the team a little bit. And Iron Bundle can drop very fast Aurora Veils, hit really hard with Blizzard, and you've got like Freeze Dry, and you run like, maybe you just run like Sash. And you just run 4 attacks of like Aurora Veil, Blizzard, Freeze Dry, and still run like Hydro Pump or something. Or you could just go, those 2 attacks, go double Ice, and be really stronger that way and run like Booster Energy still. This Pokemon in Hail, physically, you're not going to take like any damage, because getting with the Roar Veil up basically doubles screens, and having high defense already, and then getting the defense boost from that, you're not taking any physical damage. Things are going to have to fight you special on the special side, which you can prepare for with like a Snarl teammate, like an Arcanine with Snarl or something. So I thought that was a cool set. So there's a couple different ways. There's a few different ways to run this Pokemon, but really it's just being like super fast, speed control, and dealing some great damage. Countering a lot of the meta too. You're gonna counter Roaring Moon, who I think is a little bit better than you. You're gonna spec like Garchomps and all the dragons, and you're gonna offer really good speed control against Flutter Mane, who's gonna be top of the meta. So definitely viable. I think a little bit better than Iron Valiant, just because the support it can offer of the speed control is just a little bit better than what Iron Valiant could do. Now to Roaring Moon. This thing is attacker. There's a couple of sets you run. You could run Booster Energy, Acrobatics, Terra Flying, and go crazy. And if you just drop the attack a little bit, you still have very high attack stat, and you get the Booster Energy boost to your speed. and outspeed. Again, kind of boost energy wars like I've been saying. Or you can run Clear Amulet and go all the way with your attack. Put this thing in Sun. Put this thing great on. It goes great on Sun teams. It also could just exist on its own. You have Throat Chop. So your Dragon Dark, you're scared of Fairy, but you have Throat Chop to beat Sylveon. So the only other Fairy types you'd have to worry about is like Flutter Mane and Valiant, which Throat Chop's probably going to one-shot a Flutter Mane, and you can like Terra Flying, Acrobatics for Iron Valiant. This thing also would love going Terra Steel, and maybe dropping Acrobatics for like Iron Head. You can Dragon Dance set up, or you can Tailwind. You're super fast with Tailwind. You've got U-Turn if you want to run like a choice set. You've got Earthquake, obviously like Dragon Claw, Brick Break. You have Body Press, which is dumb. You wouldn't run on like any special attacker, so, but you're just so fast. This is really fast. You're faster than Iron Valiant, which is great. And then the only things above you faster is Iron Bundle, Flutter Mane, Dragapult. All which do beat you, but it depends on booster energy wars and stuff like that. And you can kind of build your team around it. And then this thing just goes crazy on the metagame. Really high attack. You could even run like a. You could go for like an Adamant set and put it next to like Tailwind. And like, okay, I'm gonna not try to outspeed most things. I'm gonna outspeed Garchomp, which is this. Go max attack and give yourself a little bulk. Just put 4 and everything. There you go. Still a pretty bulky Pokemon, really scary offensively. Getting like a Life Orb boost from Booster Energy and just smacking with, yeah, like Throat Chop, Iron Head, Dragon Claw. And then put this thing, you don't even need to put this thing next to Tailwind because you're already outspeeding Garchomp. So you just like, Tailwind fight. And this thing's going to go crazy. It's going to go crazy. It's going to be very strong. Definitely top of the meta. But the queen of the meta is Flutter Mane. This speed tier, these stats, the special attacking, this typing. Ghost Fairy is ridiculous. This thing's going to... I think there's 3 moves that are locked in. Dazzling Gleam, maybe Moonblast. You could maybe run Moonblast, but Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, Protect. I'm pretty sure you're pretty much always running Protect. Booster Energy, Focus Sash, Life Orb maybe. There's a couple different, you can even run like a Babbery Berry maybe, if you want to go like slightly defensive. There's a couple different items you can run. I think Booster Energy is probably just going to be the best, because you just like have to deal with Iron Bundle. And last move, you can go Terra Fire with Mystical Fire to beat Steel types. You could go Terra Normal to beat other Flutter Mane and run, I don't know. Just try to beat them with a Shadow Ball. You could even run like Hex on some teams. You could put it like next to like a Prankster, Grimmsnarl with Thunder Wave and Hex things and blow them up. And go like Terra Ghost. You could go Terra Fairy. And Dazzling Gleam, maybe put like Calm Mind so you get a slight damage boost. You also could go Icy Wind and offer some great speed control yourself and kind of take on the Iron Bundle role. There's some good flexibility. You have random coverage too, like you have Energy Ball, you have Mystical Fire, Power Gem, Thunderbolt, you have Taunt or Fast Taunts. You do have things like Helping Hand, getting Fake Tears in case you ever needed it. You do have Trick Room too, which is kind of funny. So you could do like a Sash Trick Room set. And she doesn't like guarantee your damage and guarantee the Trick Room up, and then but you wouldn't want to be in Trick Room. That's kind of the thing. You would only run this if like Booster Energy Flutter Mane is everywhere, and then you'd run like Modest. So you're still outspeeding everything when you want to be Speed Mode Flutter Mane, and then you go crazy. This thing can go Timid to try to outspeed everything else in the world, or you can go Modest. I want to see if you go Timid, do you still outspeed 188. If you go Timid, you actually do not get out. You get outsped by Roaring Moons. That's kind of scary. You want to make sure you have the speed control there. But you could, especially if you have like Tailwind next to yourself, you could honestly just go for like that and try to invest some bulk to live some hits. Say that. Let's say, okay, now I live some random hit. I don't know. So there's some ways to build it, but this thing is just like hyper offense, the fastest thing. It's very hard to take down. It does a crap ton of damage. Very much the top of the meta, and it's going to run the show. And that's what I think of all the Paradox Pokemon, and some example sets on how I think they could be run. I'm excited for these guys to come back. I really do like them. I think they're not like game breaking. As strong as Flutter Mane is, it has a clear weakness, which is the physical side. Like no matter really how much you EV into this thing is going to drop to physical hits. So Pokemon like Roaring Moon going Steel, or even just like with Crunch, and maybe like an Iron Jugulis with Knockoff or Iron Head. Iron Shreds is going to be really great into it, and other Pokemon in the format like a T-Tar might be able to fight it really well. Something like King Gambit's going to be really solid. It's gonna go to war with Goldango. Tinkaton can bonk it. Let's go Tinkaton. Yeah, there's Caesar is gonna be really gonna rise up and take it on. And most dragons like going Steel anyway, so there's gonna be that kind of ongoing war. You've got Pokemon like Steel is gonna exist and it's gonna hit it. And outside of Steel, you also have like Poison type attacks can hit it. Other Ghost type attackers like Shadow Sneak Ghost type. So it has clear weaknesses. Something like Roaring Moon is really crazy, but it does have that quad weakness, and it's kind of checked by other Pokemon in the format. Like, I feel like all these other Pokemon can kind of check each other. Like, these four all just fight each other, and it's hilarious. Like, Iron Valiant can fight all of these guys. Like, without anything, is going to fight these two, and can Terra to fight Fluttermane. We need to find better names for all of these Pokemon than like Valiant, because I think their names are kind of dumb. The best one so far is Ungabungus for Brubonnet. But yeah, I really like this format. I'm really excited for them to come back. I'm glad they're coming back without the Ruinous Pokemon too, just so we don't see the Fluttermane Chi-Yu. That's gonna be crazy. I think that the Ruinous Pokemon might be Ubers. They might be Ubers, or at least not until like Pokemon Home, when a lot of other Pokemon come back and power creep's gonna kind of catch up. So. Anyways, I'm excited for this. I'm excited for these guys to come back. I'm already rebuilding my team for this next meta, which does include Iron Bundle and Iron Valiant, because I love them. I freaking love them. Anyways, thanks for tuning in, guys. Love y'all. Peace.